Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I'm incredibly excited about our guest today. Today's guest is Hope Masike, an acclaimed Zimbabwean MBIRA player. She'll tell us what the MBIRA is shortly. She's a singer, writer, and cultural custodian whose work bridges tradition, innovation, and global collaboration with a career spanning music, education, writing, and international stages. Hope has built a distinctive path as a creative entrepreneur, proving that culture can be both a calling and currency. In this conversation, we explore music as a career choice, the realities of creative entrepreneurship in Africa, and what it truly takes to build a sustainable life in the arts. Hope, welcome to HUMHR Career Insights.
Thank you for having me. That's a beautiful intro.
I'm glad you say that. I would like to hear how you would introduce yourself.
No, that was perfect.
Okay, maybe you can start us off by telling us what is MBIRA.
Okay, MBIRA is a beautiful instrument from Zimbabwe. It's what we call a lamella form. So it's got metal keys. Metal keys. Like this. Like this. Metal keys that you pluck. The mbira is found in many other different African countries, not just here in Zimbabwe. It goes under different names in different African countries. But I would say, I believe Zimbabwe has harnessed mbira more than any other African country because it's deeply spiritual to us Zimbabweans. Now we have mbira in schools. UNESCO in 2020 recognized mbira as an intangible heritage of Zimbabwe in Malawi. So yeah, it is an African instrument, but certainly us Zimbabweans are extremely proud of it. It plays beautiful, soothing music.
Yeah, that strum, that was beautiful. So, a finger piano.
We don't like that word. You know, the way we call a piano, a guitar, a guitar. The mbira should be honored the same respect. It's called mbira or whatever its region of origin calls it.
I love that. I love that. Now, Hope, your journey to playing the mbira. Can you share that with us, please? Is that something you always wanted to do as a child? Did you grow up thinking, I'm going to be a mbira player?
Um, I grew up wanting to be a musician, that's for sure, especially a singer. I grew up on the Whitney Houstons, the Mariah Careys, and I come from a big family. My brother was listening to the Return of the Max, a mix of all of that. My other sister loved reggae, so it was a mix of all of that. My mom was in the choir, and I used to go to church choir with her for practice. So that is my music background. And then I only met mbira as I was growing up, firstly by listening to Chiwoniso Maraire, Mbia Stella Chiweshe. And then I went to art school. We started learning about mbira as the material culture of Zimbabwe. And then after art school, I really, really wanted to learn mbira because one of our art lecturers had a friend who played mbira. And when he came to visit, he would go up the corridor playing mbira. And then when he was leaving, he would be playing mbira. So we got introduced to the real sound of mbira through listening to him. One day we asked him if he could teach us mbira, and he said, yeah, just buy the mbira. Next time when he came to see his friend, he actually brought us the Bira. So he was the first person who started teaching me Bira. And when I started learning Bira, I knew I wanted to play Bira. He asked us, why do you want to learn Bira? And I remember expressly that my reply was, I want to make money through something that my ancestors left me, through my own heritage. So from there on, I knew I wanted to do Mbira music. The voice was a given.
Mbira. Does it have a meaning actually? I'm Zimbabwean, grew up in Zimbabwe, but I'm only thinking about it now. Does it mean anything?
You know how Zimbabwean words can mean many things. One of the things that Mbira means is an animal, which is called Mbira. And then Bira also means these keys, the actual key, we call it Mbira. Plural, we also call them Bira. So Mbira are the keys. Does Mbira mean anything else? I think those two things. And then perhaps originally it came from being called Mbira as the instrument. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. So I want to go back to that journey. Um, you said your journey to music started with gospel singing in church, and I read in your bio that you actually have recently released a gospel album. Now, you also mentioned spiritual, that the Bira has a spiritual connection. Can you explain that to me or show the connections there?
Okay, that one is an interesting topic, and we can spend the whole interview discussing that. So I'll scrap on over the surface. According to the history that we have of Bira, pre-colonial times, Bira was the instrument. Bira was our like what the kora is to Gambia, what kimchi is to Korea, or what cheese is to France. And Mbira was used for secular purposes. It was also used for sacred purposes. So when we had our special ceremonies, marriages, rites of passages, when someone passed away, when we were calling back the dead, all those ceremonies, Tambira was central. Why? Because in pre-colonial Zimbabwe, our what we now call religion, so I'll loosely call it religion, our religion was based on ancestral connection. And the Mbira was and still is believed to be the music that brings us close to our ancestors, or that calls the ancestors. There are also drums in the mix, and we also have shakers that are played when you play Mbira and traditional drums. But the Mbira, throughout its history, this is one very prominent aspect of the Mbira. It was used for that spiritual, for those spiritual purposes. So even up to now, people still have traditional ceremonies. We call them Bira. The difference being Bira is B-I-R-A. Bira is M-B-I-R-A. Bira is the ceremony where people are calling the ancestors, they're getting guidance from the ancestors, healing from the ancestors. And then Bira is the instrument that is nearly always played at a Bira ceremony.
Okay, now the connection with the gospel music.
In today's world, there are many questions. There are many who question why Christianity had to come through colonization. And then they say, if God loved us, why couldn't he just come directly to us? That's one. Others argue that we had the same God here. We just prayed to that same God through our ancestors. Others argue that what kind of a God is it who comes through people who colonized and abused us and stole from our land, etc., etc., all those narratives. And then the Bible itself says the dead are dead. You have no business with the dead. So there are all those contradicting teachings from the two religions. But a lot of people these days practice both. Some practice traditional religion, what we call ATR, African traditional religion. Some practice only Christianity. Personally, I think worship is worship. And I think the God is the same. And I think the instrument was a gift from God himself. And how you use it is up to you. It's like a knife. If you get a knife, you're going to cut bread with it. You're going to cut meat with it. You can stab someone. So the mbira is exactly the same. Just as any other instrument, guitar is used for different types of music. People get into trances while listening to heavy rock music. So it's exactly the same. How you use the instrument is entirely up to you. I am a product of both Christianity and the African traditional belief.
Okay. All this now to come to the question of, did you find any challenges when you started playing Bira? I mean, it obviously isn't the traditional career, right, that one would be expected to follow, particularly within the family unit. When we grew up, it was like, you're going to be an accountant, you're going to be, marketing practitioner, something traditional. Did you come across any obstacles either within the family unit or even actually within society when you started playing the mbira? You grew up in a church going family. Was it like, why are you playing the mbira, Hope? Yeah. So did you find any challenges, and if you did, what how did you overcome those?
Yeah, I am fortunate because I come from a civilized family, an educated family. So I didn't have some of these types of problems. I was also fortunate because my father is very artistically gifted. He was a painter. And me and my entire family, we used to sing every evening and then pray before going to sleep. So everyone had the artistic gifts genetically, I suppose. So the understanding of singing and the valuing of what singing is, let alone playing an instrument, was there, and there was a good appreciation of that. And like I said, education also helps. If you have gotten a good education, you learn to appreciate different professions. It's really how you handle a profession. Otherwise, people make money with just about anything on this earth. So I was fortunate. I didn't face those challenges. My family has always been so supportive. They're the best family in the whole wide world.
That is great. The support, through all my conversations with my guests, there is one common thread amongst those that have made it, those that are successful, and that is the family unit support, or some sort of accountability support, some that strong support unit. So that it's great that your family has been very supportive. You even mentioned, I think it was in a prior conversation that we had, that your mom used to take you to the choir. Was it now? You said your mom used to take you to choir lessons because she realized that you have a great voice.
Yes, my mom used to take me to choir practice at church. And choir practice used to be on Tuesday evenings. I remember my dad arguing that she's going to have to go to school tomorrow because it's a Wednesday, then I'd have to go to school early in the morning. But my mom insisted on going with me to choir practice every Tuesday evening. And I must say that was the best oral training that I got. My ear got tuned to singing in tune properly, got used to molding the voice properly, got used to all the fine things that choirs do, because I used to go and watch my mom in choir practice at church. Yeah, so that family support, like you're saying, is really, really important, or some form of support, especially as one grows up.
Hope, did you ever have plan B? Or was this is my passion and I'm going to go into music? Because you have different artistic talents. You not only play the mbira, you not only sing, you also write poetry. You mentioned a couple of artistic talents that you have. So, did you ever have plan B? Like, if all this fails, I'm going to be a doctor or something like that?
I was laughing at a joke. Someone was saying, hadn't someone stolen my notes in high school, I could have been a doctor right now. I never thought I could become a doctor. That wasn't my area of gifting. But what I knew without a doubt was that artistically, I was always the best in class from primary school. My drawings used to be put on the walls in class. The singing, I was always the best in in my class. So my gift became very clear very easily. Um, some people say having plan B is bad faith or lack of faith rather. They say if you have faith, you won't even have a contingency plan. However, us being on earth where anything can happen, I strongly believe in plan Bs much as you have faith in plan A. And also plan B works as a second income stream anyway. So how I started uh, chattering towards my artistic career was that I finished my A levels, and of course I had passed, and in art I had a solid A. So while I was waiting for my results, before those results came out, my art teacher said you should already apply to go and start studying fine art. And then should anything happen and you want to change, want to study, then you can always change. So before my results came out, I was already studying fine art at Harare Polytechnic. And then when my results came out, I just continued with fine art. Again, I was one of the best in class. It was really pretty natural. So I never had a contingency plan. However, from fine art class and then getting introduced to Bira while studying fine art, at some point I really wanted to do music. But then being my father's daughter, my father always says, when you start something, you finish it. So I finished my fine art studies, but by the time I finished my fine art studies, I knew my next move was going to study music. And while I waited, there was a year of waiting before starting music school. I already started my very first band. And then by the time I went to music school, I was already playing. So I didn't have a contingency plan, although there were other possibilities. When I was in high school, I'd wanted to be an accountant. And even though I could have gone that route, I loved what I was doing in fine art, and it was promising. To explain how promising it was, I recorded my first album from money that I made from my fine art studies. So yeah, it was promising. I was thriving. I was in my calling. I was in my element. So I just followed that route.
Oh, wonderful. You talked about multi income streams, and that's something that you actually have, but in different areas of the art industry. What is your thought on those different income streams? Is it a necessity, or it's just a deviation of the passion, or splitting the passion into several different income streams?
I would go with splitting the passion into several different income streams. And of course, you can go on a absolute tangent, like you are creative, and then you get an extra income stream through selling tomatoes, farming. I am totally for that. We have 24 hours in a day. There's so much you can do in 24 hours. And if you make your hobby lucrative at some point in your life also, that can become a stream of extra income. The importance of that is markets change. I mean, look at things now. AI is here and certain jobs are getting replaced. So you can't really sit and be absolutely comfortable in that position where you are and think in the next 10 years you're just going to be okay there. Things change. Certain things that are necessary today might not be necessary tomorrow. So plan Bs, contingency plans, second income streams, those are good things. And sometimes they cushion your main passion because music is capital heavy. if you do not have the capital to start it or to sustain it, music is not easy when you do it professionally. So a second income stream sounds like a pretty logical, a good idea, I think.
Mm, bringing me back to our my next question, which is on the currency aspect of being an artist in Zimbabwe and let's say in Africa, but in Zimbabwe in particular, right? Can you make money in Zimbabwe being an artist? You know, is it something you can live on? Is it something you can actually maybe not live on, or something that you can excel in and make a lot of money with?
I'll answer the first question. You can make money with music. How much you make with music, then is a whole set of muscle. So if you are gifted, if you are talented, then for sure you can make money out of your talent. Whatever calling it is, you can make money out of it. However, they say the gift is like an eighth of all of it. So then you need to have good strategies, you need to have a good team, you need to have good advisors, you need discipline, you need to add education to that talent, you need to protect the talent. There's so much more that goes into it. However, wherever you are in the world, music is not an easy way out. There are a lot of people who just produce a song overnight and then boom, it's a hit the following day. They make so much money they can retire the next day. But that doesn't happen to most of us. Most of us, it's going to be serious hard work, serious paddling under the water and looking good on stage while working really, really hard behind the scenes. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when you have the correct equation, it works and you can make money out of it. How much you make out of it all depends on how much work you're going to put into it, how much you're willing to lose for it, etc., etc. In Zimbabwe, we have musicians who have great lives. They make good sums of money. They are what we call wealthy musicians. We have musicians who have built big art centers like Oliver Mtukudzi. By the time he passed away, he had Pakaripai Art Center, which was thriving and is quite big. It's got lodges, had a restaurant. There's a music space for a venue for concerts. So you can make money, and you also can make a lot of money, especially in this day and era where how we make money with music is changing every day. So the quicker you grasp the market, you could make money more than all the other musicians who have been there before. It's just how well you plan, how well you then market your product and find the right market for your product, how intentional you are, and of course, some sprinkles of faith.
Yes, yes. I like that. Sprinkles of faith. Just sprinkles, eh? Yeah. And I also like the fact that you mentioned a team. As an entrepreneur, sometimes you want to do it all, but you have the talent and you might not have the marketing talent, the strategy, the ideas behind it all. You actually do need a team to ensure that your talent is well represented and that you can eventually make money out of it.
That is very true. You need a team. And one problem that we have creatives, we are creative. And half of the time we can do many things. In fact, we are capable of designing. Take me, for instance, I went to fine art school. Before the fine art qualification, we did basics of everything. So basic art and design principles, we did all of that. I can design a poster easily. There are so many things that I can do on my own. And in this day and era, you can really get help from AI, even basic Google on how to brand a product like, let's say, an album. And if you have money to do it, it's even easier. You can do it yourself. However, just because you can doesn't mean you should. because you can do a million things in 24 hours, or do two things in 24 hours and then do two things very, very well, or do 10 things mediocre. Also, at some point in a career, you have to present a very professional look. There is no way you can be talking to clients directly. So even if you can, sometimes you still mustn't, so that the team is good, even if it's not full time or even if it's project based, but you need a team. It presents a very professional way.
I like that. We're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about your international collaborations and a little bit more about Africa Rising. I would like your thoughts on that. So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back, everyone. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, Hope. That is incredible. You are so talented. Thank you so much for playing that little piece for our break. Everyone, welcome back. That was Hope Masike, and I am having a conversation with her about creative entrepreneurship, and she was so kind as to play a little piece for our break. We'll play the same piece at the end, so stay with me. Stay with me until the end of this, and we will replay it. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. Hope, thank you for that. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
I am always honored to play. I'm always happy to play. Sometimes at immigrations, when I'm in a country where they don't know Mbira, they even ask you to take it out and play it. So I'm used to playing on the car.
Oh, wow. Okay, now let's talk about the international collaboration. You just led right into it by in countries where they don't know the Bira. There is a big international collaboration you did. I think it was with Norwegian singers. I forget it's called ah. You will correct me there on what that collaboration is called. You actually have an album coming out this year.
Yes. So the collaborative is called Monosuwezi, and that's acronym
That's it.
for Mozambique, Norway, Sweden, Zimbabwe. So we are musicians from 4 countries, and the press just started calling it Afro-Nordic music.
Tell me about how that collaboration came about. I read that you actually spent a year teaching in Norway at some point.
Oh, yes. So in 2011, I relocated to Norway for just a year. It was a fantastic year. It was the first year I saw snow and lived through it. I survived clearly as I am here. I also discovered beautiful Scandinavian music, the Scandinavian traditional music, Scandinavian jazz. And then I was fortunate enough to also get discovered by other Norwegian musicians. And then they had already started this collaboration, and then they aided me, and we started doing music that incorporated Zimbabwean traditional music, Mozambican traditional music, and Norwegian Scandinavian jazz. And it's a beautiful mix. We have 4 albums to date, and our 5th album is coming out. I am actually on tour this February into March, promoting that album release. And the album is called Moyo, because that's my totem. I am the heart.
Oh, wow. That is beautiful. I am looking forward to that album coming out. Where are you on tour?
I'm on tour in Norway and Sweden.
Okay, 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 okay. Now that's a cultural mix, right? That's like a blend for sure. Any challenges with that, or any excitement that came out of blending like Zimbabwe, Norway, Sweden? It's quite a blend.
Quite a blend. Certainly. This is the North Quam and the South Quam. There were obvious challenges of freezing, while others are feeling like it's warm, and then having to argue about the temperature in the room or on stage. But overall, it's been a beautiful, beautiful experience. I have learned from this collaboration, I have learned that music will go where it wants to go if you allow it. As long as the musicians who are playing are competent, know their instruments, and know, like my forte is Bira and my vocal, as long as I am comfortable in my calling, I will contribute fully, so much so that no matter how different we are, we actually create a very beautiful new thing. And even though that's about music, it is about life, isn't it? So I find in global matters, for instance, we are very, very different sometimes. You go to countries where things are completely different for sure. Us as human beings, we can choose how we react to that. We can decide we repel against our differences, or we can decide we are going to capitalize on our differences, come together and actually create something new and beautiful. Collaborations have taught me this. So you listeners, when you go and Google Monosuwezi and you listen to the music, remember it's a product of totally different music cultures coming together so that there's something new that's created, something new and beautiful. Collaborations have that power. Have that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of collaboration rather than competition. What have been the hardest challenges you faced in this industry, Hope?
Well, I'll answer that in stages. At the beginning of my career, there was a question that was always asked in interviews, like, so how is the industry for you as a female? What challenges are you facing as a female in a predominantly male industry? And when I got into the industry, that was perhaps very true. There were more males in the industry than females. And the generation before me, even worse, wearing red lipstick was looked down upon. Then you were a Miss Woman, let alone dancing and singing in beer halls and things like that. But being asked that question also, in a way, cemented it. And many of us musicians then approached the industry already with the knowledge that there are differences for us, and it's going to be a bit more difficult for us as female musicians. By the way, I'm not taking away the fact that we menstruate every month, and sometimes there are cramps and horrible pain, but you still have to go on stage. Or you are facing fibroids, you still have to go on stage. Or you're pregnant, you still have to go on stage. or whatever other challenges women face. However, I like, pardon, I don't remember the exact verse, but in Corinthians, the Bible talks about God never giving us too much than we can handle. And I believe in that so much. And remember, what makes us sharper, like iron, is being that grinding. It makes us sharper. If everything was smooth sailing, then we wouldn't become as sharp and as strong as we are. So the way I like to look at it, there might be more challenges for us, but look, the more challenges there are, the more opportunities that are created for us. These days, there are even male musicians who complain that all support that comes is going to women. There you go. There's an advantage. If you're a clever woman, you know how to utilize that. And where there are those challenges, then it means sometimes there are fewer women in the music industry. Like when I got in the industry, there were fewer women in the music industry. Oh, I had a whole market to myself. That's an advantage to already ride on. So if you look at things the way, there's a Shona saying that says, "Kuipa kwechimwe kunaka kwechimwe," which means the badness of something is the goodness of something somewhere in this universe. That's a general principle. So if you like to look at the challenges in a positive light, you look at them and ask yourself, what privileges or opportunities does that then give me? I think you would thrive even better. But if you decide to look at it as, oh, it's really tough for us women, oh, us women, we go through a lot of challenges, oh, us women, then that will certainly weigh you down. Now I don't remember if I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Basically, yeah. And I guess you could top it off by saying what got you through those challenges. What is the one thing that anchored you? You know, what does resilience really look like for you?
For me, resilience is pretty simple. I look at my gift as a calling. And if it's a calling, every time I give talks at schools or wherever, I like starting by asking everyone to do this. And that's your fingerprint. And there's no one else on this earth with that fingerprint. So it's like a puzzle. It means there's a certain spot on this earth that only you can feed into. I like looking at what I do in that way. I like looking at my gift as that calling, where I have a space I must fill. And it is cemented sometimes when you finish a concert and a fan comes to you, like one of my best moments of my career. A fan came to me and he was telling me he got involved in a horrible accident and he was in hospital for nearly a year. And he was saying my first album got him through that whole hard time. What more evidence do I need that this is a calling? And if you handle it as a calling, then the hard times, they're just part of that calling. The good times, we celebrate them also as part of that calling. But if you miss that it's a calling, if it only becomes about passion or about money making or about fame, then you lose the grounding, I believe.
Yeah, I like that. I like that so much, Hope. That higher calling and the passion, that when you realize your purpose, purpose is a big thing in my coaching programs. And when you find your purpose, and that purpose meets the passion, I mean, everything else follows, right? So we could say passion, purpose, then profit.
Yes, exactly. Oh, you put it perfectly.
I want to talk about this. There's a current conversation, a global conversation going on about Africa rising. From where you stand, do you believe Africa is rising, and in what ways? What are your thoughts in that global conversation? Throw your hat in there.
Oh, yeah, there's certainly a renaissance happening. Although I believe it has nearly always been happening, but just at different speeds. Now, things like social media have helped, because now we share stories a lot faster and a lot easier. You can create content in a few minutes and post. So there are a lot of people with the correct gospel about Africa who now have exposure and to whom a lot of people can listen. The Renaissance is certainly happening, and also I think because there are a lot of well-traveled Africans by now, there was a time when going outside Africa or across oceans was such a big thing, but now we have a great population that is well-traveled and a great population that travels and comes back. Like me, I'm based in Zimbabwe, but I travel and I come back. So there's a lot of eye-opening that happens, and with eye-opening, we are learning from other cultures. And when we learn from other cultures, we're learning the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just as we do with our culture, also there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. I believe the current generation here in Africa is learning a lot, and because of that, we have so much to choose from, and that drives better leadership with more exposure and more knowledge. And there are also other not so scientific explanations. We have an ancestor or a superwoman, not Catwoman, but here we have Nneanda Nyagaskana. Nneanda Nyagaskana is very popularly known for saying Mapfupa angu achamuka. Nneanda Nyagaskana is the ancestor who led Zimbabwe through the Chimurenga Wars, and she's well revered here. And she says, Mapfupa angu achamuka, which translates to my bones shall be alive again. I believe there is a lot of meaning to that. And I believe, in a sense, it speaks to what is happening to Africa now. There's an awakening happening. There's a reclaiming of a strength that we once lost. There's a remembering of self, a remembrance of self, a remembrance of roots and who we truly are that is going on. I will tell you, Bira music is on a rise right now here in Zimbabwe. We have a lot of Bira bands, and people are loving Bira music, not just because it's great music, but because of an understanding of the lyrical content also, and of its history and what it stands for. So I think I agree. There is a rebirth. There is a renaissance going on.
Yeah. And what responsibility do artists such as yourself have in spreading that gospel, or rather spreading the true gospel? I read, I think it's just 2 days ago, that there was I actually don't know what he does, but I understand he's a celebrity. I Show Speed or something, who was who was touring Africa to demystify Africa. What are your thoughts on that? What responsibility do you artists have?
Oh my. Um, the artist has a big responsibility, obviously. I've always said artists are a reflection of society, and at the same time, they're a teacher of society. So what we do or do not do, what we say or do not say, what we preach has a congregation. Our followers are near to a congregation. When you are a big enough artist, there are people who believe in anything because you have endorsed it. Because of that, we have a microphone constantly. So what we say is very, 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 very important. Look at, I like that you mentioned I Show Speed. Look at his presence here and his live streaming, and how many young people were completely crazy to see him. If a young man like him endorses something, imagine how many young people will believe in it and will love it and will follow it. So because we constantly have this loudspeaker, we have a responsibility in that sense that we have to be careful what we say. But also, we must always remember that we are leaders. Culturally, in West Africa, they have griots who are leaders in the documentation the chronicling of history and the spreading of the correct history. Those were important people in the growth of a community, because without your roots, as Bob Marley says, a tree without its roots is dead. So artists are also important because we document. Now we know about the history of Zimbabwe because we listen to songs like Chente Ngure, Chacham Temure Viri Ngoro Wakomana. So we know that there were carts that came with white people in them who were colonizing the land, and they used to put grease, oil on the wheels because it's documented in a song. So what we are singing today influences today, but remember that it's documentation of today. Generations that will come later will be listening to that and learning from that. They'll be saying our ancestors saying all of this. So we are very, very important in that. We are also very important in the sense that every community has the creative leg. That is us, the artists. We are the soundtrack to everyone's life. We are the color to everyone's life. The paintings, the clothes that people wear. You go to a funeral, there are songs for funerals, there are songs for birthdays. I used to say that the day Oliver Mtukudzi died, it was like he had a soundtrack to people's lives. He had songs for everything. The sorrowful songs, the happy songs, and we had that in our traditional music. So being the soundtrack to people's lives is very important. It means we capture life itself, and we are there to soothe people. We are there to encourage people. We are there to give them faith. We are there to give them positivity. So in the leadership of Africa, the African artist, the African creative must never be left. That is the loudest speaker.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, because and now with social media, it's become more apparent how powerful that voice is on the global stage. And onto that, AI. You mentioned AI earlier. And in season 3 of this podcast, we did an episode called AI and the Future of Work, and the conversation was on how AI is going to take over all our jobs. It was like this big, oh my goodness. And last week, Hope, I listened to this beautiful gospel song, and only to discover it was AI generated, AI voice generated. There is no actual singer. And that I don't know how I felt about it, to be honest. I'm still trying to process it. How do you feel about that?
So I'll tell you something. I remember a very stupid thing I once said many years ago. So Facebook was just coming into Zimbabwe. People were starting to get a hang of. We were not yet getting a hang of it. It was just entering. And one of my friends was like, Hope, you should open a Facebook page. And because we thought we were so woke and conscious, we were like, no, we don't do things like that. Look at us now. When Facebook came, there was a lot of talk also about not just Facebook. When a lot of all these other platforms came, there was a lot of talk of exactly the same thing. Oh, a lot of jobs are going to be eliminated. It's the order of technological advancements. When the washing machine came, I'm sure someone thought they're going to be out of their job, and mainly they were out of their job for sure. When, the machines then take out weeds in the fields when they came, a lot of people were also kicked out of their job, out of their work. But then you see, we can never really stop this, the advancement of technology. This is a reality of where we are now. We are in that era. What we can do is to embrace and learn it, because we have to move with it. It's not going anywhere. So we have to learn whether we like it or not. But I think most importantly for Africa, we have to take a leadership seat also. We cannot keep waiting for the same regions of earth to be the creators for us to just be consumers. And perhaps that takes very drastic measures at a government level, a policy level, or even at AU level, African Union. But we need to make some very deliberate, very serious, perhaps very drastic decisions to decide where the future of Africa is and where we want it to be. Because if we decide where we want it to be, then we have to take a leadership seat also. We have to be much more innovative than we are, and to be supporting the innovation that is there already in Africa. We cannot keep losing the cream of tartar, because those are the people we need here in Africa to develop Africa. So we have a big decision and big decisions and discussions to have around not just AI, but it goes for a lot of things, obviously. But yeah, certainly we have to embrace it, we have to learn from it, and we have to take a leadership seat also and be the deciders of where things are going on Earth.
Mm, mm. I like that, Hope. Not to not be afraid of it, but to embrace it. I was just like you. I was like, I'm not going on Facebook, and for the longest, I'm not going on Instagram. I'm not going on any of these social platforms. Look where I am now. That is. Look at us now. Yeah. So, and I really like the leadership that, yeah, not just be consumers. Lead it in for what drives us, right? What works for us. We have to lead it in that way, rather than let it change, or just be consumers and let other people drive the narrative for us. Mm, yeah. So leading back, do you think that entrepreneurship in Africa is driven more by opportunity or necessity, and why?
Well, they kind of go together, don't they? Necessity creates opportunity. Um, I like what our government has tried to do here in Zimbabwe, and I really hope it will be an absolute success. So all universities now have innovation hubs. Um, they are trying to get all students to learn basics of the global languages. Um, and there's a heavy focus on STEM and STEAM, STEAM being plus art. Um, so I think that the necessity is there, and then that necessity has created the opportunity, and the opportunity has been grabbed. I don't know if that answers you.
I like it. I like it. Uh, Necessity has been created, and the opportunity has been grabbed. It's like a cycle, isn't it? There's the opportunity, and then that drives the necessity, and then the opportunity is grabbed. I like it. Yeah. For someone considering music or the arts as a career, what's the advice that you give them?
Oh, I I would say, just like in any other career path, you need to have an elephant skin. You need to have tough skin. You need to be ready to fight for what you believe in. You need to believe that you are born of and for greatness. Totally believe in it so much that you fight for it, and you have thick skin that allows you to push through whatever career. And also, just always consider that the difference between the poorest men you can think of, the poorest woman you can think of, and then the richest women or men you can think of, has to be something else. But we all have 24 hours in a day. So the advice I would give to anyone who wants to start a career in music now is utilize your 24 hours thoroughly to focus on where you want to go with your music. Decide where you want to go, and then your 24 hours belong to that. Then something's got to give.
Gonna give. Mm, mm. Hope, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind when people hear your name years from now? What do you hope that it represents? You notice I said hope several times.
Yes, yes, yes. I do that a lot also. It's a nice name to play with. So my legacy, I hope that I will be remembered for putting a spotlight on Africa's heritage and also showing and teaching how that's where the money is. Because I think whatever our ancestors leave us, we call it inheritance, isn't it? Inheritance is meant to cushion you. Life is supposed to be better when you have an inheritance. And us as Africans, our inheritance is just so humongous. So I hope I'll be remembered for teaching and also showing, proving that our heritage is our inheritance and it is our bag, it is our bank. So we need to protect it, we need to nourish it, and we need to appreciate it for that.
I love that. Protect it and nourish it. Looking forward, what excites you most about the next chapter of your journey?
My next steps are extremely exciting. I don't know if I can say this now, if I'm allowed to say this now, but I have a big project. It's very MBIRA centric, very exciting. It's a fest of its own. So I would say just stay tuned. There's something very exciting that's coming this year. You know, our industry is such that if you want to stay relevant, you need to have something constantly. You need to be feeding your fans with content, as we call it. And that is great. But I'd just like to remind artists that it's very, very okay to pull back and take time to create. Why the team is important is while you take time to create, the team can continue with the content posting and keeping your name relevant and feeding your fans with the stuff they like from your brand. But it's very, very important to step back for a time to create, because the hardest, the strongest fist needs to pull back at some point. Then when it comes back, it's stronger. I say this because last year I didn't really release much material, but I wrote a lot. So looking ahead for this year, I would say just stay tuned. I've got a lot of yummy things for ya.
I like that. I like that. And that's an apt ending before we do like some quick fire round questions that I always do just for fun. But just where can anyone get your books? Where can, if they want to buy your books, you're a writer, where can they buy your books? Where can they buy your albums? I know we have Spotify now and people just, they just subscribe to Spotify and listen. But if someone specifically wants to buy something from you, where can they get it?
Thank God for technology. I am Hope Masike on all of my social media platforms except Facebook. Facebook is Hope Masike Official. So you can find me anywhere there. Also on any major online stores, you can buy my merch. You just look for Hope Masike. You go on any of them. You will find Hope Masike. Amazon, Apple Music, you can find my music and you can buy, you can stream. You're spoiled for choice. And if you want to follow the concerts, of course, then you go to my social media pages, TikTok, Instagram, all of them. Hope Masike.
Okay. Perfect. Speaking of concerts, I loved your Kenya tour. And of course, yeah, that's where we got connected and the power of connections.
Exactly.
Okay. Last fire round questions, 5 minutes. Thank you so much for your time, but I'm just going to keep you for 5 more minutes. Well, actually, 1 minute. One word that defines your career so far.
God's grace.
Talent or connections?
both.
I love it.
That's why your network is your network. So even with the talent, if there's no networking going on, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Passion or profit?
Well, passion first, but you need the profit to feed the passion. So yeah, again, it goes round.
It goes round.
Round, yeah. Early mornings or late nights for you?
Oh, it depends. It varies. Yeah, it varies. I like both.
Coffee or tea?
Cafe, but I like Zumbani tea also. I think I'm a both kind of girl. A lot of these questions are going to be, it's about the balance. I think I like both. There's this tea, this green tea from Zimbabwe. We call it Zumbani tea. It's beautiful for the voice, for colds. We drank a lot of it during COVID. That's why we are still alive here in Zimbabwe. So yeah, I like Zumbani tea, Makoni tea, and then I love coffee.
We connect there. Love tea. Okay. Music is freedom or pressure?
No, absolutely.
Okay. And then the very last one. Finish off this sentence. Entrepreneurship in Zimbabwe is?
Hmm. Entrepreneurship in Zimbabwe is growing.
Okay, let's rephrase that one. Entrepreneurship in Africa requires, let's take it away from Zimbabwe and make it a little bit more regional. Entrepreneurship in Africa requires?
In Africa, entrepreneurship requires, like I said, it requires, of course, the passion, it requires all the other things, but it also needs thick skin. This is Africa, baby.
Requires thick skin. I like that. And that brings us to the end of our time together, Hope. I am immensely grateful for you taking your creative time to create with me on HUMHR Career Insights. And to our listeners and anyone watching, stay inspired.